With living costs rising, many homeowners are looking for ways to bring down their monthly payments without creating bigger problems further down the track. In this episode, I'll be joined by Emma Jagger, Senior Mortgage Product Manager at Skipton Building Society, to share responsible but practical ways to manage your mortgage and stay in control. Emma, if people do find themselves struggling, what should they do? What's the first step?
I think the first step is to contact your mortgage lender as soon as, realistically possible. And it's absolutely nothing to be embarrassed about at all. We know in recent years, the cost of living in the UK has skyrocketed, and it's actually a really expensive place to live. And a lot of people have felt the squeeze. Yeah. But lenders are there to help you and give you solutions to, get you back on track or support you with your payments.
How can they help? Could you extend the term of the mortgage? Does that make a big difference?
Yeah, you absolutely could extend the term of your mortgage, and what that does is could bring your monthly payments down, and that could be more manageable for you. Mm-hmm. I think there's a few things to consider with that though, because it's not just as simple as extending the term out. Actually, you might want to think about your retirement plans and where the end of the mortgage fits in with that. Some people might not have retirement plans, but other people will. So it's important to consider what your future plans are. Secondly, you could end up paying more. Well, you will end up paying more interest. If you extend the term out, it takes longer to pay that back, and you end up paying more interest. And then also as well, each lender will have their own policy about how old you can be at the end of your mortgage term. So your age will be a factor as well. So they're all things to consider, but it's really good to have a conversation with your lender to see what your options are when it comes to extending your term.
Typically, what is a lender's view on somebody overpaying?
So lenders generally do allow people to overpay. A common amount that we see is 10% of the mortgage balance. And you can do that in regular payments or as a lump sum or, a one-off payment. But what that does do is reduce the amount of interest that you pay, or could reduce the term of the mortgage.
So 10% a year would be fairly standard.
Yeah, that's, you can see all sorts. Some lenders do 50%, and then you'll get variable rate customers that may have unlimited overpayments, for example.
And generally speaking, how supportive would a borrower be if somebody has fallen on hard times and they are struggling?
Absolutely. It's in everybody's interest to get people back on track. And we know that life happens. There could be a life event or an unexpected curveball that comes your way. And for people that were living kind of close to, or is a tight squeeze or close to the breadline, something could quite easily tip you into, I'm struggling here, and how am I going to make ends meet?
So that could be a loss of job.
Yeah.
Could it be a bereavement or a relationship breakdown?
Absolutely. There's, life happens, and, unfortunately that does affect people's finances. So, things that are quite normal, things like a bereavement and, a relationship breakdown, as sad as they are, they happen quite often. And sometimes they can push people into, feeling the squeeze.
Any particular tips on how to remain, for want of a better term, financially resilient?
I think understanding your income and expenditure is a big one. And if you are starting to struggle, that could be something that your lender will ask you to complete.
Okay.
And, quite often you can have a look through that and see if there's anything that you don't actually need. Sometimes we sign up to subscriptions or streaming services and you're not actually using them. And, all those kind of savings could add up into something that will help you.
Yeah. If somebody does find themselves struggling, what's the first thing that they should do? What's the first step?
I think the first step is to contact their mortgage lender and not to be ashamed about that. The UK is a very expensive place to live at the moment, and people have felt the cost of living crisis, and it's still very much a thing. Don't be ashamed about it. They are there to help. Another thing that you could do if you're finding yourself struggling is going through your income and expenditure and doing some budgeting. It's all too easy nowadays to tap your phone or have your card details saved in your phone and click buy on a website and then forget that you've done that. it's really good to go through all of that, see where you could make some savings, or, things like you can sign up for a subscription or a free trial of something, and then you then start getting billed, and without realizing it, it's so easy to get into that situation.
And if you ring the lender and say you're struggling and these are the reasons, will they help you with that process, for instance? Is there support available?
Absolutely. So there's a thing that's called the Mortgage Charter that was set up in 2023 by the government. And that is to support people with maybe temporarily going on to interest only. So they just pay the interest and not the capital down, or doing a term extension. That doesn't affect your credit file either. So again, it gives you that breathing space to decide how you're going to manage your finances in the future.
If somebody does need to extend their term, does that, for instance, affect their credit score?
Not always. So some will, especially if you're doing a term extension with your lender. But if you are using support from the Mortgage Charter, those small term extensions don't actually have any impact on your credit file, which is probably really reassuring for some people.
Yeah, absolutely. It's really important to, and I loosely use the term, remain financially resilient, but any particular tips on how people can do that or make sure they do it?
Yeah, I mean, let's not underestimate how tough that can be for many people. I think keeping on top of your income and expenditure, again, is really important to do. And, doing various budgeting tools. There's plenty of apps out there for now that will help you with that.
Yeah.
Keeping in touch with your mortgage lender at the first sign of any struggle, again, because you never know what support is available for you. And especially if it is the Mortgage Charter, the kind of reassurance that you can get that, you're covered and you've got some breathing space. At Skipton, we work closely with PayPlan, which is a free debt advice service. So again, there's options out there for people that, if they do need any advice that is confidential, then they can utilise that.
So lenders do understand that life happens and it doesn't always go according to plan. So if you're struggling, get in touch. It's in everybody's interests to make sure you're back on track. You could lose your home if you don't keep up your mortgage repayments.